Ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, welcome to our show. We have gathered together from the cosmic reaches of the multiverse, two of the nerdiest geeks to be found. We proudly present the professor and her geeky girlness herself, Ace. And now it's time. GeekyKOOL presents Professor and Ace.
Hey everybody, welcome to GeekyKOOL presents Professor and Ace, episode 91. We've got the guys from Clever Kaiju with us tonight. Super excited to have you guys here. Ace is not here at the moment. Hopefully she'll be able to join us. So, how's it going, guys?
Going, how are you?
Good.
Good. So, for those that don't know, tell us a little bit about what Clever Kaiju is and about how you guys kind of formed this.
Ooh. I think we should let Gary take this, or Nate. You know, maybe I'm confused on the story. One of you guys started.
He was the one sending out the group text and stuff. That's like, this is. I was like, no, you do it.
Oh, okay, so Clever Kaiju is for the founders of Clever Kaiju. It's myself, Gary, Isaac, and James, who isn't here yet. He might pop in here in a little bit, and we have a pretty robust collection of skills in our professional art careers, from graphic design and illustration to animation and game design to comic book creation and self-publishing. And we just kind of met up on a regular basis in the beginning to talk about the industry, to complain about clients, you know, that sort of thing.
Right.
And it just kind of snowballed into something where we realized that we all had something in common. So we kind of started an actual company. It's a production studio that we use primarily as like our main focus is to outreach to other artists, to encourage and to inspire and to support other artists that were like us or are like us currently, from amateurs to recreational artists to professionals. We have a little bit of something, an experience that we have to offer everybody who wants to be to be an artist. And so our biggest platform, our biggest outreach has been on our Discord. That's who we invite most people to be a part of what we're building. Like I said, from amateurs to professionals, whether they're people that are just wanting to, they're actually wanting to start an art career and have no idea where to begin, to people who just want to do their art the way they have been, but they just don't want to feel alone, to professionals that, you know, are like, hey, I've been doing this for a long time and I have some experience. I'd like to teach or, you know, help inspire others and help kind of bridge gaps that I wish I had when I first started, you know. So that's our Discord has been a huge outreach and a huge foundation for the community that we're building.
And here's James with us. Hey, James, welcome.
Hey,
Nate,
your timing's perfect.
You did. Nate was just going over kind of how you guys founded and started the Clever Kaiju up. So that's awesome. But okay, so now Nate, I've known you for quite a while. It's been Library Con. I don't know, what was that, 8 years ago or something, and it's been a while. It's been a long while, and I've seen the evolution of your art over the years, and you know, always enjoyed reading Woolly Mammoth.
The Potbelly Mammoth.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, my brain! I'm telling you guys, when you hit 50, all of a sudden your brain goes away. I don't know if any of you guys are even close to that yet, but unfortunately I am. So, but yeah, the Potbelly Mammoth, always a blast to read, and I've seen kind of your art grow further, and I've known Gary a little bit from at conventions also. Now, James and Ike, I don't know you guys very well. I kind of think I've seen you both, maybe at VisionCon. I think I saw you guys, but yeah, I'm glad to have you guys on, by the way. Welcome to GeekyKOOL Presents. If you guys haven't watched before, and I don't expect anybody has, we are a all-encompassing geek website that's family-friendly, and we have these weekly podcasts where we just do a variety of things. Our very first one actually had our good friend David Fout on it, as one of our first guests. So we love our artist friends, and my partner AJ, or Ace as we call her, when she shows up, she's also an artist. I'm the only one who's not an artist. I think you guys do really pretty things. I'm like, ooh, wow. So, but so tell me a little bit. I mean, we've talked a little bit about how it formed. What are you guys doing? What sort of outreach are you looking at? I know we're looking at Discord, but what things are you actively doing out in the art community right now?
You guys want me to take this one?
Yeah, go for it, man. Yeah.
Minus the. I'm catching an echo off someone. It might be me. Hold on. What we've been doing with outreach, minus the Discord, is that we would have field trips. Sometimes we would go to like the zoo, or where else we go, Bass Pro, or we'll have like little get-togethers at Big Mama's or in person, or we'll get online and do Magma Studio sessions, conventions, Tremendicon especially. We did a bunch of panels. Everyone here on the team did a panel or two. I know Nate probably did like 47 panels that week.
I bounced around. Deanna had my back on scheduling, but there were only a minute in between.
But Nate did. How many panels did you do, Nate? Was it 3 you did?
Yeah, 3. Yeah, and then I sat in for 2, but yeah.
Yeah, he did 3 panels. I did 2. James, did you guys do 2? Isaac and James, did you 2 each, or you do 1 each?
I did 1.
I think I did 1. That was on my own. Yeah, and then I was in some others, but yeah.
We didn't really see each other much, and our chairs were right next to each other in our own booth.
Right.
It was like this person was here, then this person wasn't, kind of thing. Yeah. But no, we do portfolio reviews at conventions, just anything we can to interact with the artist community, no matter where we're at, Wichita, Kansas City, here, anywhere. And then we like to get those people to continue talking to us, interacting with us on the Discord.
Right.
And that's where you funnel in that big, nice, positive artist community that we were talking about earlier.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. Guys, did I miss something on that outreach?
No, man. I mean, and that was the tricky thing about it, is when we first started, we were meeting up just before COVID hit, and we started getting into a stride and just started thinking around like, well, we have a thing. What if we gave it a name? What if we brought in other artists like us? What if, and then suddenly COVID hit, and we realized that everything that we were planning to do in person, like, we couldn't do anymore. So we spent a couple of years, we really never saw each other in person, but we were every week on our Discord meeting up, doing meetings, and we started the Pen Click, which was originally not supposed to be. It was supposed to be in person, but we ended up just doing it online, and it took off. I don't think we could possibly do it. In fact, the last 2 conventions since COVID came back around, we tried to do it live, and we're like, this is kind of butts. I think we're better at this online. So we're starting season 3, episode 1 next Thursday, actually. Season 1 and 2 is on our YouTube. So our YouTube is another heavy hitter platform that we've sort of soft launched, just so that we had a place to put our season 1 and 2 of Pen Click, so that we can officially have a place for season 3. And we're going to live stream everything from it on YouTube. We're going to be we are a production studio, so we're going to be putting together like a very robust set of we're gonna be content creators on YouTube. Is going to be a big platform for Kaiju that we're looking forward to do, and we'll have an official launch of the channel whenever we're ready to do that. But in the meantime, there is some content that you can see on there.
So guys, make sure you send me links to everything, and we'll get those put in the video description so people can come and find you a little easier. So
cool, man. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, most definitely. And I've got your Facebook, and I'm not sure wherever else I've got Clever Kaiju, but yeah. So tell me, how did you come up with the name? I mean, I love the name, but tell me how you came up with the name.
It's one of 40. I think each of us came up with about 10 or 15. Wow. We actually have the lists off to the side. We were going to frame them and put them up in the studio.
I love it.
but it's almost like, honestly, this is like having, in my experience, is like being in a band. The likelihood of getting 4 people in the space at the same time and to knock out ideas and it's all the same. And coming up with a name is probably most creators' worst nightmare. That's the hardest, most difficult part of a lot of creators' process is just naming it. Sometimes the name inspires the product, but in this case, we're just like, what do we do? So we wrote down lists of 15 or so a piece, 20 a piece. And we would meet up each week.
The first ones was like Big Beast.
Yeah.
Big Beast.
We wanted something large and we wanted it to be kind of savage and primal. So I'm a sucker for alliteration. So we were able to nail down, like, weed out a little bit of it. I think everybody agreed that we wanted something large to be bigger than life, bigger than us.
Right.
And we wanted something that was represented like a monster, some kind of untamed thing, like that's breaking loose. And that was kind of the common theme between all 4 of us of why we were meeting up to begin with. And so Kaiju was a cool name. We had to do some research to find out if it was actually trademarked. It turns out it's not, so that's good. And then we just come up with words that matched with it. What were some of the other gems that we had?
Oh man, I wish we would have pulled that list out.
Yeah,
found that list with those names on there. I want to read that too.
There was some really good ones. Like these are like I would start a band with some of these names that we had, but yeah, Clever Kaiju just seemed to be the best, like aesthetically, the way that the 2 words stacked on top of each other.
Right.
Yeah.
They were both a C and a K. They had the same alliteration, but the different letters. That was a huge win on a design point. So
right.
Yeah, so it was kind of a no-brainer as far as the name, but then we went through the same process with the logo character himself, and that was fun. That was interesting.
Yeah.
I think that was easier.
It was, yeah. We only had like 1 week. We had every idea that we could ever want, and within that week, and
yeah,
the art's easy. The name sucks. It's hard.
it took me like 2 months to come up with GeekyKOOL. So
yeah, what inspired GeekyKOOL?
Oh well, basically, I wanted a geek site that was going to be family friendly because my daughter was really into geek stuff for a while. And so I'm like, I don't want anything that kids can't be around, and too many of the other sites had a lot of non-kid friendly content. So that's what that inspired me. And then I'm like, well, so I kept playing with nerd, geek, and just kind of, and I'm like, and somehow the word cool just came up, and then I went and searched. I'm like, nope, geeky. Cool with the C. No, that's taken. Somebody's got that website. Not doing anything with it, but somebody owns it. And so I'm just playing around with it. I'm like, well, what if I put a K, like Kool and the Gang?
Yeah.
And Kool and the Gang is a band from the 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
If you guys know.
I know who Kool and the Gang is.
Okay,
I was thinking Mortal Kombat, but
well, the Mortal Kombat would have been cool.
Mortal Kombat was a fighting game in the 90s.
Trust me, I remember. I'm old enough to have actually owned it when I was supposed to, and like you guys were like, "Oh, I'm going to play this when I'm 12," and it says it's have to be 16 to play it. Oh my god, yeah. No, yeah, but no, that's how GeekyKOOL came out. But it took me like 2 months of trying to go through and searching websites and checking everything to make sure nobody else had it. And then the Ace and the Professor thing just kind of flew naturally with AJ and I, because I always joked about her writing being the ace reporter even before she became a reporter. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, you're the ace, and so Professor and Ace are one of the companions for Doctor Who was Ace, and she was called her doctor the Professor instead of calling him the Doctor. She misunderstood. They just called him Professor. And both AJ and I love those two interactions, and so I'm like, well, we could, since I already called her Ace, that kind of flew in naturally. And I'm like, I don't know, I'm not really a professor. She goes, well, the Doctor wasn't either, so okay, well, we'll go with it. So, yeah. But yeah, so naming can be tough, but you guys got that figured out. Got your logo, which is awesome, by the way.
Thanks.
And moving right along, and hitting everybody up. Now, are you meeting on Discord every week? Is that what it is?
Yeah, anymore in the last probably 3 or 4 months, we've renovated space for a studio. We actually have
That's
like
awesome.
a physical studio location where we have some. It's basically the basement of my house, the downstairs of my house. Which when I bought the place, I originally meant Mammoth Press LLC was going to be like it was going to be my print shop. I was going to print all of my own merch, and it's one of those things where I just kind of felt lonely. It's just way too much space for just me, and most of the work I did, most of the work I do was graphic design and illustration and animation, which didn't require that kind of space. So I was up here in the office, and so whenever the opportunity came, like to host, space for 3 other artists, like it was perfect. So we've been bringing in some drafting tables and stuff, and arranging those, and getting lighting and camera work and or cameras, and we're still kind of in that process. But yeah, every week we meet up in person, and we drink way too much coffee and eat terrible snacks, and we just kind of lay out on these overstuffed couches and just figure out what our next plan is, what the big picture for Kaiju is, and
that's amazing.
And
While we do it for our conventions and stuff.
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Which convention time is rolling around continually. So
yeah,
there's conventions going on all the time now. So, which is great considering we went a couple of years with no conventions, and it just seems like they're just being pumped out continually. I'm like, wow. I know last week there were 2 in Southwest Missouri that were competing against each other. So
yeah, that was a pretty common story before. Yeah,
it was. It was.
Yeah.
Well, tell me a little bit, guys, on what got you into being an artist. Where did you feel that calling to be an artist?
Oh yeah.
I think James should answer that.
Yeah, James, you start. Let's start us off, man.
Honestly, I started doodling in my first year of middle school, and I started being the guy that whenever there was an art project that needed to be done, or a project in class that required some sort of creative element, everyone was like, well, they wanted to partner with me.
I get that.
Yeah.
What was it? I grew up watching Ralph Baskey, the Terry Tunes, Looney Tunes, Animaniacs, all that stuff.
Oh yeah.
And I loved watching how they made them specials, with the animation. So that got me started in wanting to do animation.
Neat, yeah.
That's amazing.
Right on, man.
I guess I'll go next if you were done there.
Yeah.
My era was, I guess, more the 90s, Ninja Turtles and X-Men. And I had some comic books, and I had an older brother, slightly older. And so I think I was always wanting to draw to be cool. And I found out in elementary school that I was really good at it, and all the kids liked me for it. So it was always my thing.
Yeah,
there you go.
So I kind of started there before I got into music and just shuffled around, but finally it came back to traditional art here in my 20s.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Gary, you're up next.
Oh man, okay.
He's shocked.
This is the
Oh my gosh.
So when I was in daycare, I started like drawing what my mom says like familiar characters. Like she knew like what I was drawing when I was drawing it. And then when I got to elementary school, of course, you're always the kid like, oh, hey, draw this when you're artistically inclined.
Right.
But when I got to like middle school and high school, like I started doing like TV commercials and stuff too, like talking about my work and stuff. So it's like being put in the public eye at a young age too with your work, and kind of you yourself isn't watching your work grow. It's like you and the public, and it can be kind of like scary sometimes. But going past that, like my influences though are like guys like Arthur Adams. I love Masahiro Shiro. Frank Cho's pretty awesome. God, Who else do I love? So Junji Ito, he's a big one that I love too. Gosh, and my peers. I love my peers too. And I learn a lot of stuff from them too. Which, I mean, honestly, you do, because it's not like you get to talk to. I don't talk to Arthur Adams all the time. I don't talk to these other artists. So, guess who I'm learning from the most? The people I'm around the most. So,
yeah.
Hi, my story.
Welcome,
hey, AJ. How are you?
By the way, for those that don't know, the award-winning journalist, AJ.
I know. I'm literally. So.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Congratulations. That's awesome. Good news. Actually, so
but
my origin story actually starts on the other end of your spectrum. Apparently, James and Isaac and Gary was. You were the cool kids that could draw that other people admired and was always wanting to be around. I was the kid that was like, wow, those guys can draw. I want to be like them. I want to be useful too. And I say that, but it's not really a joke. Like, that's really what it was, is I looked at other artists, that kids who could draw, like they had a superpower. And to see other people respond to them like, oh my God, you can draw. And they want you to draw everything. And it's like, I want to be useful. And maybe that was something that my parents did, is just like, they didn't push me in any direction. They just always supported me. And that was the thing, is I just felt obligated to be useful. So art for me wasn't like, look at me, I'm an artist. It was more like, here's a skill that I've developed that I can use to help you. And that was my whole life. And it was driven by animation, Ninja Turtles. My room growing up, and that room over there is full of my Ninja Turtles from my whole life. And video games, Sega Genesis. I learned to draw from Game Pro and Nintendo Power magazines. I didn't really get into comics until much later on, but I played video games. I loved the characters. I wanted to know how to draw them, and my parents kept every magazine, and I still have some of them at the old house. They kept my magazines because I would have them packed full of drawings. Like, I would have them for years. Like, I wouldn't ever read them again, other than going back and learn and practicing how to draw the characters out of the magazine. So that's really where my start got. And
dude, that reminds me of like when I would go to Walden Books, and it sucked because it was during the Satanic Clinic, and I would have to like sneak in the back of Walden Books with like the monster manual from D&D, and like totally get my Steve Austin on. If you don't know who that is, it's the $6 Million Man, and like he just memorize every single illustration in there, and like try to copy it from my brain onto paper. And I mean, it totally sucked when it came out on paper, but it was like the best I could get it, or copy it from like what I saw to hear back onto the paper. But those monster manuals are great. I've never played D&D, but I love all the artwork that's in it, all the books and the monster manuals. Man, those monster manuals are beautiful, especially the older ones, because they have such diversity in the art styles and like the different types of monsters in there. Yeah. But sorry, I didn't mean to go off on a tangent about sneaking books in the back during the Satanic Panic.
I appreciate that, Gary, because I grew up at that same time, and those monster manuals were beautiful. There's a special on Amazon Prime about the creation of a lot of that artwork that went in there.
I saw that.
Yeah, isn't it cool? I was like,
it's an amazing documentary. Yeah. So many people slept on that, man. It's a good documentary.
I agree.
Very good documentary.
I agree.
Even if you're not like a Dungeons and Dragons fan, and like even if you're just like an artist, you can watch that and just really enjoy it.
Right.
I would, and here's the thing: I think even if you're not an artist, but you love art, have any appreciation for art, it's a really good documentary, because that's the thing, is art comes in so many forms.
Yeah.
And it's so subjective that it's gonna find somebody who likes it no matter what. But I grew up in that era too. I was a girl who played D&D in that era, so it was even more. So I couldn't even go and sneak into the back. I had to have my guy friends bring me their books so I could look at the monsters.
You had to wear a mustache in Walden Books.
Yeah, see, I had it easy. My parents just paid for subscriptions and it came to me. And every iteration of Earthworm Jim stumped me, and it wasn't until I was an adult that I could be like, haha, take that.
But you know what? Those Game Pro magazines and do you guys remember the Nintendo Power magazines when they were doing like the Legend of Zelda comic cartoon, not cartoons, but comic strips in the center of them?
Yeah, yeah.
And that Super Mario Brothers comic. Those are done so masterfully. Yeah. Like, just like, go check those out again, man. I looked at some of those recently. Oh, good stuff. Sorry.
The biggest dream that I had as a kid, and it wasn't like, because I mean, this was in the 90s. This was before the internet, so we didn't. There was. It's like if you want to be a professional artist, you got to be Disney, or apparently Marvel or DC. Right. And I didn't even know about those. So I had Bettendorf, Iowa didn't really give me many options for being an artist, but those magazines had one section in the corner of a page where it used to be like 2 pages, where people could submit their crude drawings with crayons on notebook paper and send them in for a chance to be published in the magazine. And that was my absolute dream. That would have been my artistic like accomplishment, is if I was able to get one of my drawings. So every month I was just sending drawing after drawing after drawing. And there was one month where I put Duke Nukem on the back I sent a Sonic the Hedgehog, but I put Duke Nukem on the outside of the envelope. And 2 months later, I see a picture of an envelope with a Duke Nukem cover on it, and my heart skipped, and I was freaking out, and I realized it wasn't mine.
Oh no! Oh, that hurts. Oh.
And shortly after, so I was defeated, and then shortly after, digital art started. Photoshop, like Macromedia Photoshop, started taking off, and all these artists come out of the woodwork with their digital computer art, and I didn't even know what a computer was. And yeah, so then they started ousting out all of us kids that were just trying to get our name in a book for once. And I don't know, that was the end of my art career, I thought, as I knew it. But here I am.
Luckily, it didn't stay that way.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
AJ, what questions do you have for him, since you joined us late?
Okay, so I did join you guys late. I'm so sorry. I came home from work. Right. Crazy, and I fell asleep on the couch.
Oh goodness! Oh.
This is me just waking up, so I'm still in the process of waking up.
I thought you were like interviewing the governor or something. So.
We have one of those.
Well, I think so. I'm not sure. Maybe a puppet.
Professor,
so.
I try not to interview the governor ever. That's Jason's territory. I try not to do that. I don't do politics as much. I'm like, no. Yeah. I live in Branson. Like, the politics in Branson are very like, okay, sure, I'll write the story and keep it going.
Yeah.
Leave it at that. But so you guys talked about your journeys and how you started, and I didn't get to hear Ike or James. I didn't get to hear yours, unfortunately, because I literally just woke up. But I will go back and listen. Don't worry. Is a thing that I do. But what advice, like, how hard was it for you guys to become the artist that you are now? Like, so what advice would you give the young to like continue?
We had a bit of a breakup, but. Yeah. I think I understood you. Your question was like, what kind of advice do you have for artists first starting out? Is that?
Yeah, like kids who are just starting now. Do you guys have? Let's see. I'm gonna try.
Okay, and I think really that's like the very foundation of what Clever Kaiju is for us, and that's what that's the foundation that we're gonna build it with is it this kind of advice in this sort of situation. So this is going to be, hopefully, this explanation, this answer that we give you, it could be the rest of our lives and the rest of our career if it plays out correctly. So in general, like there's a lot of information and a lot of tools and things out there that we wish that we knew about or wish we had access to when we were starting out. And that's the thing, our Discord, our community is just one of them. There's many of them that you could probably like search out, but the internet is a huge, vast like wealth of information. I learned far more in YouTube than I ever did in college. And we have that convenience of being able to search out, Google search anything that we're looking for. But it's understanding that you have peers, finding a community, which is exactly what Kaiju is to find a community with other people, understand that you're not alone, and that every question that you possibly have has been asked and probably answered by someone else. And that's just one of those like strong suits of Clever Kaiju that we've always been really proud of. If anybody hops in the Discord and somebody raises a question, somebody is always to be like, I know exactly what you're talking about. It's actually really cool and kind of unexpected how much it's grown organically, but finding peers, finding other people that that are like you and forming like relationships with other people, surround yourself with support is the best advice that I could possibly give. That's actually what led to Clever Kaiju in the beginning, because I had just lost my job whenever I started meeting up with Gary. And I was like, what do I do? I have all these things. I don't know what to do with them. And he's like, I've had some similar questions, but here's my experience. And then James and Isaac, they added in like, here's my experience. And it's like, this is valuable information. Let's do something with this.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I hope you guys can hear me now. Can you hear me now?
Much better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Much better.
Yeah.
Better. Okay. I hopped off and set my settings different, so.
Okay.
So is there something you guys would say to somebody who is getting started out, words of inspiration or anything like that to, get people going rather than getting discouraged with the art?
Yeah, I imagine it's harder than when any of us were kids. I mean, not only do you have all this information out there that can help you learn, but when I was a kid, I didn't have to worry if I was an artist or not. Like, I didn't have to show it online and see if people liked it or not. I just did what I did.
Right.
And I put in hours of just exploring, and then it might be a year later I learned one thing that I didn't know, and it's like, oh wow, that's so amazing. It unlocked a new perspective. I developed so much more after that unlock, but it took a year to find it when I was a kid or a teenager, instead of what it is now, which is almost overwhelming. Like, it's almost better sometimes to take a year until you get that little key, like to take your time. And it's hard to give yourself time and permission to just be you and be yourself where you're at. And community helps with that, which was like our first point there too.
Mm. Yeah, that's a good point. The
It does,
hustle
because
culture
it's
can
that
eat you up.
creativity too, because that's one of the things I try to like tell younger people, like, don't play the comparison game, and social media can be your best friend or your worst enemy. And that kind of bleeds into like what Isaac was just saying. Like, you have to take that time. Like, if you look at my last Instagram post, it was like last year. I'm not even gonna lie, it was last year, because I just, it's not that I hate social media, but I would rather be painting something than like messing with it. And if I don't have to mess with it, I'm just like, whatever. That's a bad habit of mine, but it gives me peace of mind too at the same time. But yeah, social media can be your best friend or your worst enemy, but if you know how to treat it and balance it out and not be on it all the time. Like, they say TikTok's good, I think TikTok is bad. Like, if you can't cut yourself off and just stick with like what you're looking for, it's bad for you. It's a foxhole. So don't try to get into social media that you'll just get sucked into kind of thing. If you want to produce a lot, like Craig Mullins, he's like the all-father, granddaddy, god of digital painting. He's like the first guy that Adobe was like, hey, can you do this on here? He's that dude. Right. And his social media isn't that live either. And in an interview, they're like, well, why aren't you on social media? He's like, because I'm painting. And I was like, all right, cool. I was
I like that, Gary.
Yeah,
Yeah, think
I agree with that. Good.
Sorry,
just saying,
Jay?
the whole thing about comparing yourself. I mean, I did that. I was always comparing my artwork to someone else, and you got to realize that when you're looking at some of this art online, you don't know how long they've been drawing. It could be 10 years, 20 years, or an hour, and you can't compare 20 years of knowledge to a beginner. You'll destroy yourself worrying about it. It's like, why can't I get this circle right? The best thing to do, I can really say, is keep your old drawings and go back and look at them.
Yeah, redraw them too.
Oh God, some of my first drawings that I was really proud of, and I was going around with the family going, check this out, this is cool. And I look at them now, it's like, oh, good Lord. I thought I was something back then.
Which is bold, because James, we actually used to get on to him because he would just be like, I don't like it, and he'll just throw it away.
Yeah, I do. I am the evil one of, that's crap. I'm going to chuck it in the trash. And my wife's like, I'm going in the trash for that drawing.
Yeah,
I mean, like loose sleeve, like all the time. Like you would draw something and then just kind of be like, "Oh yeah," like, "Where's that really cool drawing you had?" He's like, "Oh, I threw that away. I scanned it in already." I'm like, "No, dude, what are you doing?" So we make him draw on a sketchbook now.
Being a tattoo artist,
good.
you know,
I feel like
no, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just saying, like, I feel like artists are so hard on themselves. You're your worst critic.
That's
Like,
probably true.
in general.
Yeah, no, that's very true.
You just look at yourself and it's very, very true to a lot of people. I mean, I'm the same way, and my son's the same way, and I'll look at something he does, and I'm like, that's amazing, and he's like, this could have been better, that could have been better. But I like the idea of, like, drawing in a sketchbook and not throwing them away, because I feel like too many times people just toss things, and you don't know who would like that. You don't know, you know.
Right.
So I like that idea.
Yeah, I'm the big advocate of like keeping a sketchbook, and like you know, these guys, I preach about it all the time. They've heard it so many times, I'm not even going to repeat it, but it's very important to keep a sketchbook. So,
I mean, you kind of did.
for that reason, yeah. Very.
Well, you know, and what was really fascinating, and it points on everything that James, you brought up, and Gary too, and AJ, you probably know this firsthand because you sat in my chair. But being a tattoo artist, I have officially hit my first year as an actual licensed tattoo artist, and that's not including my apprenticeship. But what's crazy is to know where I started a year ago, when it was just a blind panic of anxiety and making myself sick and losing sleep over, like, these are human bodies that I'm messing up, you know, permanently. And to know a year ago, like, there were practice skins. There's 2 tattoos that I did on practice skin, just to practice my line work, from just as I finished my apprenticeship, that I had actually had a chance to just recently do on a real person here recently. And just to see that growth, that whole, like, dig up something you did before and do it again. That was probably the most ultimate, like, oh, there is progress. Things are moving. But I look over to the artist to my right. I look over at David, and I'm just like, I will make myself sick until my lines look as good as his, until my saturation looks as good as his. Until then, I'm ruining human beings. And meanwhile, the same people that are in these chairs are like, oh my gosh, this is so good, such good work. I absolutely love this. And the last thing I can tell them is like, it's okay. Like, I could have done better. Your saturation could have been better. And it's like, you know what? It is what it is. And it's like, if you don't have that fear or that drive to be better, or that self-hate or whatever, your own self-criticism, then there's really no growth outside of that, because you can't depend on others to tell you you're good or you're not good, you know, because even though people tell me I'm great, awesome, I appreciate that. It takes a lot to say that about, and I really do appreciate it, but just keep in the back of my head, I wouldn't tattoo me, which is stupid, which sounds awful, but that says more about me than considering AJ has a small piece from me.
Listen, you give me. I do, from your apprenticeship.
Yeah.
When you were an apprentice, and my husband had.
Yours
too.
is one of the and your whole and Spoon's whole forearm. I love those. I'm pretty proud of those. I like both of those.
The chick, and then he has the
Well, as the non-artist in this
cobra.
group, I
That's
do have
right.
to say, I do some writing and write some poetry, so I've done a similar thing. I've gone back and read some of my stories and some of my poetry from 10, 15, even from high school, and I'm like, oh my gosh, wow, that was horrible. What was I writing back then? And so it is one of those things where you look at that growth and you're critical of your own stuff. So I get that. So
I just
by the
recently
way,
did something. Oh, sorry, what?
Go ahead, Gary.
Oh no,
Go ahead.
I had recently talked about that on our Discord in Clever Kaiju. Shame on you, Nate, for not mentioning this earlier. But I had posted a painting that I did in 2010, and then I painted over it like last year, I think it was. And then I showed the comparison, and I tell people sometimes you got to take something you've done before and redraw it just so you can see your growth. Because if someone's like, oh, well, I suck, or I don't think my work's improving, or I don't like my work, it's like, well, take what you did like a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago, redraw it. Or look at what you did 5 years ago and look at something you did yesterday. Compare them. I like to paint over stuff or redraw stuff that I did a long time ago, like you were just saying from high school. I actually have a post in my Instagram where I found a bunch of my old high school drawings, and I picked select ones and I redrew them. And some of them were just like exactly the way they were on the page, the way I did them and laid them out before. But that was a really fun exercise, and it was really neat seeing how I could do an anime style, then turn around and do, something completely different.
Right.
Compared to back then when I was just doing anime, or I can only draw things a certain way. So, sorry to ride that horse for a little bit.
No, that's a really good point, dude. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's ask you guys some questions.
All right.
I think AJ was talking, but I think her microphone was.
The thing is I'm not used to that.
I think there's a delay, or it's breaking up on yours. I'm sorry.
It's like a Godzilla movie. We hear the text.
GeekyKOOL, like it started off with the two of you, like from the beginning, right?
It actually started with me and some other friends in the beginning. I had some. My whole idea was I wanted a site that wasn't just me. I wanted something, because I had my own personal blog at the time, so I wanted to bring in some friends and do some writing. And every one of them that are like, oh yeah, we're going to do this together, they all have dropped out because life and everything else. Life gets busy, your commitments with kids, your commitments or whatever else. And so AJ started writing for me, I'm not sure how long ago. How long was that, AJ?
4 or 5.
Yeah, 4 or 5
4 or 5 years ago.
That makes sense. That's kind of what I was thinking in my head, but after 50, I think 4 or 5 years, and it was 20 years ago, so I don't know what I did. Anyway, but no, 4 or 5 years ago, AJ came in. She's been wonderful. She has been very encouraging. She has brought in some new ideas and some things that we want to change and go forward. She's really my right-hand person. And we still have several other writers that we bring in. Some of them write once a month. Some of them write 3 times a month. Some of them write once in a blue moon. But we're glad to have the different voices. That's really what I wanted, was different people to bring in their different perspectives and voices, especially what interests them. Because I've got a little bit of anime, but I really don't know anime very well. But we've got one of our writers, she loves anime and does top 10 lists about her anime style, and I find it fascinating because I'm like, this is not my expertise, and she's writing about what she loves, and that's what I always tell my writers is write about what you love, or what you're enjoying, or what you want to explore, or what you want to say. Give me your voice. I can give you things to go do, and things to write about, but if it's not what you're passionate about, then why are we doing this? This is to have fun and to just give different perspectives for people.
So in the beginning, compared to how things are now. Do you ever look back on your stuff in the very beginning and thought, oh wow, we were going in the way wrong direction there? Or were you actually like pretty clear in your mission and in the very beginning and stuck to it pretty well?
Well, and part of that's because I had my own blog for a while, and I tried everything blogging. I did everything from blogging about politics to blogging about, this and that, sports. I did a fantasy sports blog for a while. So it was one of those things. When I decided to do GeekyKOOL, I kind of knew what the mission was. Now we've adapted it since then, and our vision, I think, is better. But it was pretty clear at the time on what I wanted to do. I wanted to have a site that I wouldn't be afraid to show anybody the site. I wanted to keep it, that PG-13, where you can talk about some things that maybe are a little risque, but not go into all the details.
Sure, right, yeah.
But also a place to where my kids could read it and everything else. But and also a place that had different voices. That really is what I wanted, was collaboration, because I can sit, and most of my writing's done by myself with headphones on and everything else, but I want to be able to have a community to be able to come together. And I've always thought, I love the whole idea of going to a convention and bringing people in with me. And I was very happy at OzCon. We had 5 different contributors there with me. So, or was
That's
it
cool.
6? But it was a good number of contributors, and that's really one of those things. It was 6, yeah, it was 6. So I loved that. That was so fun to bring in all the different people and kind of have a GeekyKOOL. We had a GeekyKOOL picture made, and we need to get that put on the site. I don't think we've got that on the site yet. So,
We do.
yeah.
We do. Well, they were from my wedding. It's fine.
Well, it's just fascinating building something from the ground up, especially when it's a joint effort from a handful of different people. Because again, like I make the joke about being in bands and stuff. It's so hard to stay flexible and to keep kind of keep the same mission in mind. And we're kind of going through a growing spurt with Kaiju where it's just like, all right, this is important. Like this is the message. This is what we're setting out to do. And
Right.
It's always fascinating to learn that about other groups that are, in a similar boat. So congratulations to you guys. I mean, you guys have been doing it for a long time. It's so cool. Like I'm very happy for you.
It's something I love. So, as you guys know, that if it's something you love, then that becomes important to you. So you're wanting to do that. So, so
I have a question. Do you guys do like reviews or like just kind of showcase like creators' IPs? Because there's a lot of creators just here in the city alone.
There is.
And they're always releasing books, books, collections, music, whatever. Like there was Eavesdropper Cafe that Brian Koshik did. And it was like this comic he'd been working on for like 20 years. And it came with a 45 record, which nobody around here has done anything like that.
And around here has a record player. Well, no, I guess they do now, but
but the thing is, it's like I think that a lot more people need to know about that, and like that, and like Isaac's got a bunch of stuff he's released. Nate, James is working on stuff. There's Dave Frizzell. I mean, there's so many creators out there, and I would love to see more coverage of what people here are putting out.
Most definitely.
I mean? Yeah. I think that'd be really, really cool. I would encourage people to submit it to you so you can talk about it. I think if there's some outreach, man, you'll get a lot of people sending you stuff. I guarantee it.
Well, and we've done some of that, Gary. We've had different spotlights and interviewed people. AJ for a while was interviewing different local artists and talking about that very thing. And we've done some different independent comic books, done some reviews of those, but doing more would just make me excited because I love the whole idea of reaching out to the community, bringing stuff in. So yeah, if part of it's just letting people know that I'm here or that we're here, and then letting them know that this is what we want to do. Recently did the Zombie Dave comic book.
Yeah.
We reviewed it. So we got that review up a little while after OzCon. Sorry, not OzCon. After VisionCon, we were able to get that up and promote that. So yeah, anything we can do to promote people. But yeah, you're right. Probably need to make that a better headline that we're looking for submissions for art, for stories, anything like that. We
Like
love
releases and stuff like that. Because again, there's tons of people here who've done comics.
Right. Yeah. You might need your own team of people just to consume the content and.
Well,
3 eyeballs, sure. You know.
we will do our best to get it all consumed. Yeah.
Yeah.
AJ reads 900-page books in a day, so we can handle any of those novels. So.
It's weird. I read 900-page books on YouTube, but in 1 minute bits.
Is your mic working, AJ, or is it still down?
We got some buzzing or whatever.
Yeah, here's the buzzing.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like it is any better.
Oh no.
Yeah.
This is frustrating me.
It's fine. It's
I can hear you
technology.
now pretty well, so.
Technology is hard. It's just.
It is. Well, and I know this is frustrating, AJ, because she's an artist also, and she loves talking with fellow artists. So, I just admire your guys' stuff, and I look at it and go, man, wish I had any sort of talent at all. My art teacher in high school, so I went to a little small high school of our town was less than 1,000 people. High school had 125 people altogether. The art teacher was the same art teacher from kindergarten all the way up through high school.
Oh wow!
Oh wow! Yeah.
She did not like me, and I had her the entire time. Well, because my ability was none. I mean, I couldn't draw a stick.
Was that why she didn't like you, or do you think she didn't like you because you?
But between that and my being ADD and being a disruption, and I always wanted to draw superheroes. I always put a cape.
In that case, I wonder if mine hated me.
I'm sure they didn't because you're
they actually Miss Kohlmeyer, man, she was awesome. She loved me.
She was also the teacher for the yearbook, so I wanted to learn photography because back then you actually would do the dark room and you'd learn how to do all that. That was my goal, was to do that in high school, and she refused to let me in the class because she didn't like me.
Oh man,
it sucked for that part. I was like, okay, all right, fine. But yeah, so that's my the only thing probably worse than my art's my singing. So it's a good thing I can write because that's about all I can do.
Embrace it. I mean, that's when I first moved to Missouri. We when we lived in Springfield, I met Adam McLaughlin.
Yeah.
In 5th grade, we went to Laura Ingalls Wilder Elementary, which is right across the street from Glendale, off of Glendale High School. Yep. And I got to hang out with him and pal around. Basically, I followed him around and copied everything he did for 2 years before we moved to Willard. And I didn't see him again until we were I was in my 20s, or actually late 20s, actually almost 30. Actually, yeah, I was probably 30. So, and it was almost like nothing changed. He was still just that big, lovable, cuddly, amazing dude that now could do even better art than I knew before. And it was just my trip through school. It was just I think I was always just chasing everybody who was better than me. And I had an art teacher named Miss Kohlmeyer. Everyone called her the Angry Russian. She wasn't angry. She never was, at least never to me. She had a flask of rubbing alcohol, but everyone said it was full of vodka, of course, because they're idiots. But it was rubbing alcohol. She used it to clean tools, whatever, I think. But no, I was that was the one class that I was always in, and I would always double up if I could. And she always had me. And I would do things like, okay, that's a cool exercise, but I'm going to do this instead. And she never corrected me. she never stopped me from doing it. She's like, okay. And she was cool. She would, a lot of my artwork got circulated around. I think the DARE program was probably my biggest outlet, because once those police officers knew that I could draw, they wanted me to draw all of their posters. And I got cool stuff like cool hats and T-shirts, and I got to ride in the car as payment, I guess.
Wow,
So that was my
cool.
earliest client was the DARE program, which is why I don't do drugs, probably, because it worked. So I'm very square. I'm not that kind of artist. The DARE program worked. They gave me stuff. But yeah, as far as my origin story goes, it's actually pretty lame. I think it's like
I like it. I think it's awesome.
Okay, is this any better?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Hopefully that'll work. Hopefully. I'm like so frustrated because I want to talk to you guys.
Mm.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
If we can hit that moment of awkward silence.
Oh, I thought James was going to say something.
Well,
I'm sorry. I think you have a little bit of a delay, so that's why I think we're waiting, because there's a slight delay on your end, Ace. So we'll give you extra time to to get to speak. Yeah.
That's very nice. Not you time. I think like having somebody encourage you, your teacher, not saying no, that's wrong, but letting you do your own thing. Do you think that's like a really important thing when you're trying to help younger artists, is to let them know, do your own thing and encourage them?
Yes. That's actually a very big question, and it's something that I want to do a lot of content covering, as far as like kind of the mental health and the development side of being an artist and being a creative person. Because I had the fortune of my mother was a bit of a cartoonist and a painter, and it kind of changed whenever I came around. She had to focus on other things, but when she discovered that her son wanted to draw cartoons as well, I could tell she was ecstatic. And so having that support, that's why my parents provided me the magazines. That's why they kept buying me pencils and paper. They just kept I don't know what you're going to do. I don't know how you're going to do it, but I just know that it means a lot to you. So explore it, have fun, and they were trying to be reasonable and practical about what I could and couldn't do. But having that kind of support system of, I never once had anybody tell me I couldn't do anything or that I wasn't good enough to do something. And that's a rare story anymore. I don't have haters, which is good, because it's either because it just means that either I'm really just that good and nobody can hate me, or I'm just not that big of a deal and haters don't really feel threatened by me. I don't know. But in a world where there's haters are like a benchmark of success, it messes with my head a little bit. But I look back, and every single person that has ever seen what I do have always been supportive. And I've been the worst critic of my work. I'm the worst hater of my stuff. But I don't know what it's like to have anybody tell me I can't do something or that I'm not good enough. I know what it's like for me to do that. And it's just like, well, if they're not going to do it, I'm going to do it. Or almost like it's that whole imposter syndrome where I feel like, well, maybe I fooled them. If they knew what I know, if they knew how my head worked, they'd call me out quick. It's a weird mental health circus to get through. But in general, just having that encouragement, even if you don't understand what it is they're shooting for, just the fact that somebody has a certain passion about something, so long as that passion doesn't hurt anybody else, excluding tattooing, that's a hurting that that they volunteer for, which is one of those things. My dad was like, if your mom knew that you were tattooing, she would be ecstatic. Because my mom died before I started, and if she knew, she would be ecstatic. She would be so happy. And I don't know if that's just because she always told me, I don't care if you go up on stage and poke a shirt around with a stick. I don't care what you do. Just be happy and just do it well.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's just because it was be tattooing or just because her son's an artist. I don't know. But I just the idea that, you know, you're building on something that other people admire and have always wanted to do, or they know people in their life that they want to encourage and they can use you as an example. Like, well, this is what they could aspire. This is what my child could aspire for, you know, just by my example. Like, that alone is incredible. And that's it comes from people going like, I don't know what you're doing. Just keep doing it.
Yeah. That's how I raised my son. Was always just whatever he was wanting to do. And he's an artist and he's a musician and an artist and stuff. And I was just always like, what do you need me to do to help? What can I do to help make your dream, whether it be a dream for today or a dream forever, what can I do to make that happen for you?
That's awesome. That's so familiar. And I feel guilty looking back. Like, I don't know why I bothered my parents with that. Like, like guitar was one thing, but trombone, really? And I knew then I didn't want to play trombone. I wanted to play saxophone, but I thought the saxophone was a brass instrument, and it's not. And they saw my beautiful lips and thought, you'd be perfect for trombone. I'm like, don't give me that. Nobody wants to play trombone. That's why you're pushing it off on me. And my parents still did it anyway. So I'm like, all right. It's like I didn't do class rings. I did not do yearbooks. I did not push that on my parents to pay for, because it's like, look, I owe you a lot for things that I shouldn't, you know, like, you entertained a lot of my whimsy. I'm not, you know, I just felt guilty. But
listen, you and my son, he played guitar and trombone, bass, ukulele, mandolin, all of the instruments I had to buy. And then he's a photographer, so of course, Mom, can you buy cameras?
yeah.
And then an artist, so a constant stock of sketchbooks and different colored pencils or charcoal or whatever he was using. I still have some of it. It's 28, and I still have some of his stuff here, like supplies that he needs to come back and get, because they're sending
Good
my
news. Okay, he sounds like me.
I know. It's like
So he's doing fine. Because I get to buy my own cameras. In fact, this is the first time I get to use my new one this way. So I'm, you know, but that's, you know, the toys are, you know, part of it. And it's just, if you have somebody who has your back to explore these things, some of them are going to be like, that was fun. But everything is like a puzzle piece, even if it's not the big picture. Right. Every little thing that you explore is a puzzle piece to be used in the big picture later, even if you don't know what that big picture is. So like there's a lot of things that I'm just like, oh, that's cool. That's going to be me. I'm going to find my identity in it. This is going to be everything I put my heart and soul into. And I spend all this money and all this time, and I stress my wife out with all my mental like circus acts. And then eventually, I get to a point where I go, well, maybe that wasn't quite what I thought it was, or like I think I found the end of that bit, but it's always stuff that I can apply to something later on. Like, it's always building into something bigger and bigger, and it's valuable to be able to explore it, to have those phases, because everything I'm doing now is just really a combination of things that I've already done, just bits and pieces. Like, oh, I learned that, I have that in my armory. That's going to come back around later. That's going to be useful later.
Guys, I'm going to go dark for just a moment, so I'll be right back, but keep going ahead and talking. I don't know why I did that. That was bad. That was the worst thing ever. What am I doing? Oh my gosh. That was horrible. What is that?
What did you do? Now it's just you. I was going to say, like, now it's just him. What can I say? No, I think it's great to have somebody encourage you. Do the rest of you, did you have somebody in your life encourage you?
Isaac, you want to go first?
Sure, yeah. Yeah, my parents always encouraged me that I could anything I put my mind to, which is I really appreciate that. Yeah, I guess that's all I'll say on that one.
All right, I'm back.
Anybody else want to answer that? About it?
Well, even my parents told me I probably couldn't be president, so I guess technically that was. Well, with current events, who knows?
I vote for you, Nate.
My folks were weird about it. Like, it was kind of like during the weird, like, high school, middle school stage, it was kind of like, okay, cool, you're on TV, but like late high school, hey, I want to do this for a living. It was like, oh God, mate, you might want to be a little bit more realistic about it. And again, it was the end of the 90s, early 2000s. The internet was young and people were sending submissions via snail mail and envelopes back then. Right. And I think that was the first time I was like, oh man, really? So me being the kind of punk I was, I loved proving, I still love it, but I love proving people wrong. And so I was like, I'm going to go work in this industry even more now. Like now I want to do it even more because they're like, oh yeah, you gotta be realistic. And I'm like, no, I'm going to do this. I mean, it took a while for me to do it full time and be in the field that I want to be in. And even to this day, it's like, you're still going to have your ups and downs and your struggles and stuff. Yeah. But I had to kind of prove to my family, like, I can do this. I didn't go to college either, but I had to prove to them that I could do this. And, I had to work my butt off to, to get where I'm at today. And I'm still climbing. You're always going to be climbing. Young people, you're always going to be climbing. There's no peak. There's no like end game. You have to just keep having goals, and you're just going to you got to keep getting better and catch up with the technology and what's going on and things you can pick up and techniques and all that. There's no comfort zone. You have fun with what you're doing, but if you're working professionally, you have to stay on top of things. Mm-hmm. There's no end when it comes to learning. You're always going to be learning. But the cool part is all that learning is fun, especially when you have a close community and a good community. So, James, you want to go ahead?
I mean, I was raised by my grandparents mostly as when I started drawing, and they they're like, whatever you want to do, as long as it was something with a computer. That was something they always pushed. It's like, you wanna make money, you got to do something with a computer. So it's like, I remember seeing computer animation when I was first growing up, and I'm like, oh my God, this is horrible crap. This is so bad. This will never replace regular animation. And then, boy, was I wrong.
I think we all thought that though at one time.
Yeah, it's always funny what will technology and use, and now that's what I teach at the college is new media using technology and art.
Yeah.
Dude, I've learned so much just from hanging around him. Like, crazy. That's just hanging out. It is like nuts, dude.
Well, and I remember when I was a kid, I thought I got into 3D modeling and 3D Studio Max back in like 2004, maybe. And it was Shrek movie that blew me away because of one scene where there was sunlight coming in the chapel windows, and there was like, you see dust in the light that's shining through. There's like volume light. Like, how do you do that? So I pirated so much software and spent so many nights trying to figure out how to do texture, how to do stone textures, and how to do volume light with texture in it. And it was years later that I would be watching I'd be listening to, I think it was a panel done by him where he touches on like something in volume light, and I'm like, it makes sense now. I would come up with so many different variations of it of my own. I'm like, that's cool, but it's not quite the same. But it wasn't until I'm a full grown adult and moved on with my life that James would touch on the one thing that I'm like, oh.
You hear that, Maya? We need a
Oh.
3D endorsement. We need
Yeah.
that, Maya. Let's get that endorsement. Clever Kaiju needs that endorsement. Let's get it, Maya. Right here.
Yeah.
We won't have to pirate software. Not
Who is Maya? Is it still Lightwave?
I
No,
think-
they
is
used to
it?
that. Yeah.
Is it
Lightwave
3DS
is-
now?
Well, Maya, they started teaching Maya at the college, but it was Lightwave for the longest time. But
Yeah,
that's
no,
what
that's
we
when I
used.
last. So I
I
got
don't
my
even know
Bible.
if Lightwave's still a thing. I mean, that's when Babylon 5 was kicking around, was Lightwave. And then
I see.
most of the game industry is using 3D Studio Max. And then a lot of the people that I know that are into special effects and cinema, they're using Cinema 4D.
Right. Yeah.
Dude, I'm about to learn ZBrush.
Wow,
Like,
that's
I got
still
a guy
around.
who's, I got
Yeah, you're in for a year or two of hell.
Yeah.
Here's a ball. Make it a horse.
That interface is so backwards and weird. It's not even.
Oh, that's why I just want to learn it first because I'm like, let's just jump off this building neck first and we'll see what happens, man. If I
Yeah.
survive, great.
I think we're already turning this into a kaiju meeting. Sorry.
But man, to learn that though, like everyone, a lot of people that I talk to, a lot of fellow 2D artists and conceptual artists too, they're like, man, learn ZBrush, dude. Learn ZBrush. So I gotta get into that 3D game, I think, at least just a little bit when it comes to that. Though.
It's cool that ZBrush is still going though.
Yeah, ZBrush is a big deal still, man.
If you learn ZBrush, you can model in like a minute using the spheres and stuff. I mean, the people that know it in and out can model very quick versus traditional vector point or vertices.
It's a ball of clay. Turn it into a
Yeah,
person.
it's digital clay. That's what ZBrush is. It's digital clay. I don't know if do you guys know what we're talking about?
I have no idea.
I do.
All right, we got
Interesting.
to like our 3D program.
There's a free
I
program
honestly thought it
online.
was just like a novelty program in the beginning. I didn't think it would amount to much, but apparently it's grown huge.
Yeah, there's like a free version called
But I use Strata Pro. I don't know if you guys have ever used Strata Pro or heard of Strata Pro. It's like one of the earliest 3D like programs they made. It's ugly. It's so ugly. It's just hideous. Like, if you ever get a chance, go back, like go to YouTube and see if you can find anything on it. Man, that's just
Yeah, we chronicle our careers by looking up awful things on YouTube that reminded us of like what we thought was primo at the time, and that was one of them. Yeah.
Oh, fun fact. James, did you? Okay, fun fact. I believe James worked on it too, but James and I worked on the worst Nintendo DS game ever made. Like, it is in the history books. We worked on the worst Nintendo DS game, and it was a port of Elf Bowling. If you were not familiar with Elf Bowling, it is this horrible Flash game that came out in the early 2000s.
Yeah, it was fun.
$30
We could do to it.
online now, or $50. It's
crazy. Like, couldn't give those things away, and now like people want to buy them. I'm just like, man, I should have just.
Well, it's like the copies of the ET Atari game.
Oh yeah.
That people were just burning, and now people are paying thousands of dollars to find a copy.
It was the number one worst video game ever made.
That's
that's mine and James's ET right there. We have our ET.
I watched YouTube videos of that Ben 10 game that you did all the modeling and animation for, James. I fell into that rabbit hole. That was cool. It was on Xbox.
I worked on the concept art for that game.
Did you really? That's cool. I was actually pretty impressed. I could see why the gameplay reviews of it were like meh, but the art and design was pretty highly rated, and I totally saw that.
That was the Black Lantern curse. It wasn't it, James? Wasn't it? I'm not going to sit up here and lie. That was the Black Lantern curse right there. It's like, man, the gameplay was and design was god awful.
It was boring, but it looked
good. All the art would always get 5 stars.
Oh yeah.
Backgrounds are great, animation's great, gameplay sucks.
Yep.
So you can imagine how difficult it is for me, who grew up like daydreaming of being an animator and a game developer, to be like, oh, you guys used to make video games? that's cool. We should totally make one. And it like stirs up all this PTSD from working in the studio together. It's really hard for me to convince James to just finish the bones on Mammy so I can put him in my game.
That would be awesome.
But you know, like in due time.
Yeah, but I mean, it is funner to do an independent project, though.
I love the idea of PTSD.
So the first thing I ever reviewed from David Fouts was a comic book that he did, and I met the author of the comic book, the writer, but I did not know David at the time. So I reviewed this before knowing David, and the guy had an interesting, weird concept, but the writing was really just kind of all over the place. So I reviewed it, and I gave it... I gave the writing a D, but I gave the art an A+. And the guy came back and goes, "Thank you for the review. That helps me." And he rewrote the whole comic book and made it so much better.
Oh,
and I'm like, wow, okay. I wasn't, I was trying to be nice, but I'm like, honestly, it was just horrible to read, but it was so pretty to look at. So I know what you're talking about, where you're like, man, the art saves the project because the writing is just bad.
Any professional worth their salt is going to...
Ultimates 3 was like that, too. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that. It was a Marvel book that Joe Mad did. Beautiful book. Beautifully done. Like, oh my God, it's just, gorgeous. But the story was just butt. It was terrible, man.
And as a writer, because I don't do art, but I appreciate the art. I love the art. But as a writer, I look at this and go, how did you get a job? How am I not writing this? I could have wrote this so much better. Oh my gosh. And so
it kind of goes to show, though, the value of being somebody like, a reviewer who can read something, who is trusted that your opinion is trusted enough to read it. More importantly, like any professional worth their salt that can take a review like that and be like, oh, good point. Let me try again. And, that's... Like, it doesn't matter how bad it was. The fact that he turned it around and at least did something at least a notch better, like, that's impressive to me. That's a cool story.
I was really impressed because I felt horrible. I sent him the review, and I'm like, I won't post this to my website if you don't want me to, but, here's my... Because he's like, I want you to just be brutally honest. Be brutally honest. I'm like, okay, I'll be brutally honest. And he's like, oh, that's perfect. Go ahead and run it, and then I'm going to write it over. Okay. And it, so yeah.
No, this is
That's awesome. As somebody who writes and does art,
AG's going to want to do this episode over again, just so you guys know, because she's just dying and she's not able to talk to you guys as well.
Yeah. It's nothing like, especially when you spend like an hour setting up gear and everything ready to rock and everything's ironed out. You've done all your tests, good to go. And then you hit start and then everything falls apart. All the plates you're spinning just fall. And you're just sat there, in internet land live with your pants down. You're like, this is me.
I did check all this stuff out earlier. It's worked before. What are you doing? Yeah. No, I feel for you, AJ. We'll have him back on again. I promise. Well, guys, anything else you want to highlight before we let you guys go for the night?
Type it in the chat.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anything you guys want to mention or anything else before we let you guys go for the evening?
Other than we know that we've been talking a lot about Clever Kaiju and being like pretty big online through Facebook and Instagram. Those are the bigger two social platforms that we use. But because of COVID, we've only been putting up a lot of ideas of what we want to do, a lot of productions that we want to put together, and we're just now kind of starting that physical presence. We've been this is the first year we've been able to attend conventions and make a physical presence, and with the drink and draws have been amazing. We had like an artist brunch here recently that was a great turnout. And it just kind of grows the Discord more and more. And so that's something that we're really looking forward to doing more of, is more conventions, more physical in-person events. But like as a production company, as a production studio, we have a lot of content online that we're going to be rolling out on our YouTube page and our YouTube channel. A lot, and as well as content that we're actually doing in-house, like stuff that is entirely made and supported and collaborated by actual members of Clever Kaiju that we can't really talk about too much, but we're really excited to show it when it's when they're ready. But in the meantime, there is the Pen Click, which is another example of that's already been running. Season 1 and 2 is currently on our YouTube channel at Clever Kaiju. But season 3, episode 1 for the will actually start next Thursday. So
what's on Thursday?
Our YouTube channel, probably share it through our social network. It will be at 8 p.m. next Thursday.
All right, very
live
good.
on
Make
Facebook, correct? Or just live on YouTube?
It'll be YouTube. We'll probably share it on. Yeah, I guess the event is on Facebook, so we'll figure out a way to at least share it.
YouTube, Facebook.
Yeah.
And we'll put links down below, guys. So if you're interested, check them out next Thursday live. And check out the YouTube channel, which will be down below also. So as you guys are watching this, if people are watching this later, make sure to check them out there. Guys, I want to mention, as you guys are getting these projects going, let me know. Come back on. Let's talk about it. We can write up articles about it. So I just want you guys to feel welcome. I'm always happy to approach you guys, but feel free to approach me and let me know that there's something going on you want to come on and talk about, because I love having you guys on.
No, I really appreciate you reaching out, man. It was really cool.
Well, and AJ's mic hopefully will be working better next time. So
yeah,
I'm gonna have to get her.
Try Blue Yeti.
Also. Yeah,
as if we haven't. We're not paid sponsors by them. I promise.
Yeah, Yeti, what's up?
But Yeti. we should be.
Holler at us.
I agree. If Yeti would like to sponsor both, Clever Kaiju and GeekyKOOL, we would be glad to promote you every episode.
Because I think most of us here do have Yetis, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to get AJ a Yeti, so that's in my. We need to get some money scraped up to be able to get a Yeti for her. So, yeah. Well, guys, thank you for coming on once again. We appreciate it. Clever Kaiju is an amazing group. You guys are doing a great service to young artists out there and even older artists. So, I appreciate what you're doing. I appreciate how centered you guys are with the local community here in the Springfield local area. That does my heart so well, because I just love that's amazing. And I've always been impressed that the art community here, you guys aren't really competitive. You guys are actually cheerleaders for each other, which is just wonderful.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, that's a good point.
So
thank you very much, man. And it's always been awesome to have. We've known you for a while, but thank you for the support and reaching out.
Yeah.
And every time there's something going on or a convention or an event, you're always there. So we can't thank you guys enough.
Yeah, that's what we do. That's our part of it. And also, guys, if you have any individual projects that you're wanting to promote, or if you have a comic you want review, just let me know. Just bring me something. We will make sure to promote you. If you're going to have art at a certain place that we need to draw attention to, all that stuff is just amazing. So we love all that. So we also love some of our other friends that do very similar things to what we do. That's my transition there. Usually AJ does this, but I'm going to do it tonight since her voice is down. She's like, ooh, Larry's actually going to do it for a change. So we've got our good friends over at Pop Culture Minefield, Keith and Gary, and they have all sorts of really awesome celebrities to come on. They've got people in the know. They scoop all sorts of stuff on their shows. They have multiple shows going on out there, including Coffee with Gary, which is usually an hour-long show where Gary talks as long as he has coffee in his coffee cup. So, and speaking of Keith, there has his own show on Mondays at 3 p.m. on the Fat Steven Seagal Show on YouTube. I know, isn't that the greatest name? I'm just like,
oh my god!
I love Geeky Cool, but if I could have gone Fat Steven Seagal, I mean,
Oh my
okay.
god, that's epic!
Isn't it? I agree, Gary. Yeah. We've got our distinguished competition, our good friends over at the Nerd Informants, over on YouTube, Facebook, and everywhere else. Those guys are giving movie reviews. They're interviewing all sorts of celebrities. And, so I checked them out if you guys don't know them. And, of course, they've got their own Facebook page for geek stuff going on. Now, guys at Clever Kaiju, you can post stuff on the Nerd Informants Beyond if you have stuff going on. And that will give a shout out to the geek community. So that's another place that you can let people know about the different stuff going on with you guys. So, and we've got our friends over at the OzPod Gals with OzCon, and two of the funniest young ladies, pretty, geeky, and just amazing. And we always enjoy their show. So those are guys you can check out. And of course, our partner, the Scallywag Productions, Spoo over at Scallywag Productions. I know he's getting some stuff going back up, hopefully with some videos here very soon. Because for a while he was posting all the time. Yeah, AJ's hoping, so it's like, yeah, he's gonna do it. He's working a lot right now, and then health issues he had. So yes, that's right. Thank you, AJ. Make sure you hit like, subscribe on our friends' pages, on Facebook, on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to everything. Give them the thumbs up, because that's how people find out about us. If you do those things, then those fit the algorithms to make sure that others will be able to see us. And of course, we've got our site, GeekyKOOL.com, where we do videos like this. We do movie reviews. We do comic book reviews. We talk everything geeky into the world, including anime to technology. So feel free to check us out, guys. Thank you all for watching tonight, and hopefully some of you guys will be watching in the near future on YouTube or Facebook, because it'll be posted both places. And thank you again, Clever Kaiju. You guys are awesome. We're so happy to have you here with us. We can add them in our weekly links. Yes, we can. So we will get stuff added for you guys, especially with your Discord. That way, we'll have you guys in our weekly links. We do this every week. We shout people out every week because we want to promote all of our friends. So we'll add you guys to our promotion list to talk about your Discord on Thursday nights. So great idea, AJ. So, all right, guys. Thank you once again. Until next week, stay geeky, and we'll see y'all later.